Hi guys, Jared Bruning here. I wanted to take a moment here just to go over this new camera that hopefully you've been able to pick up. It is the IPEVO V4K Ultra High Definition USB camera.
Now, before you start using the camera, I would highly recommend that you download the IPEVO visualizer. You will be able to just simply plug in the camera and it'll immediately start working, but it's a very basic version of the visualizer that you'd have. But if you install this application, you're going to have really full functionality with the camera. So what you need to do is go to ipevo.com/software. Right up here in the URL, ipevo.com/software. Again, that's ipevo.com/software. ipevo.com/software. Once you go there, you'll see right down here, the very first option is IPEVO Visualizer. That's the one you need, the very first one with the green eye, IPEVO Visualizer. So click on IPEVO Visualizer. When you click on that, it's going to open up this page giving you a little bit of information about the visualizer. You can go ahead and click free download, that you're going to go ahead and download this. So I'm going to click on free download. Now, here's where it's going to ask you what operating system you're using with the visualizer. For most of us, the vast majority of us, if you've got the new Dell laptops that the district just purchased, you're going to be using Windows 10. All right, now that's what most of us should be using. But if you're using a different operating system, you can choose one of the other operating systems. But 99.9% of us are going to be using the Windows 10. So go ahead and hit download for Windows 10. Now again, it'll ask you, do you want the visualizer? Yes, I'm going to get it. So I'm going to hit get. It's going to ask you if you want to open it up in the Microsoft Store. So I'm going to go ahead and open it in the Microsoft Store. Now, it may take a moment for the Microsoft Store to open up, but there it goes. And it has the visualizer there and everything. And so I'm going to go ahead and hit install. Now, it may ask you a few questions here about logging into the Microsoft Store, all this stuff about getting into Microsoft. I'm just going to go ahead and hit, I forgot my username. I'm going to hit cancel on here. So just forgot my username, cancel, and then it should start now getting to the actual application. So I'm going to go ahead and hit download now, and it's going to start the download. So it isn't a very big application, so it shouldn't take too long for it to download onto your computer. All right, so it is fully installed now. So what I can do is go ahead and hit launch. And it's going to ask me a few things here about, do I agree with the license agreement and all that stuff. I'm going to say, yes, I understand. And I'm going to go ahead and hit agree.
Now, once you have the visualizer application installed on your computer, all you simply have to do is take the USB cord and plug it in to the USB on your computer. Now, if it doesn't work on that side of your computer, you do have another USB input over here on the other side of the computer. So in case you don't get a signal there, you can plug it in to the other side. But that's all you need to do is simply plug it in to the USB. Now, a few quick things here about the camera itself. If you look at some of the controls on here, we have a few different controls. You have this little blue button right here in the corner. If you push that at any time while you have something in front of it, that will autofocus it. So you can hit that button to autofocus. Now you see you have this little toggle switch that has an S and a C. If you put it on S, that's for a static image. So if you're wanting it to just focus on a piece of paper that you just have in front of the camera, just have it on static image. But if you're going to have like a continuously moving image, like say for instance you're going to film yourself doing a lesson, you would want to change it to continuous. Also, you have the exposure up here. So if you want the picture to brighten up, hit the plus. If you want it to go down, hit the minus. A few other things here with it. Of course, it's on this stand that you can easily move around here and adjust. The camera itself too will turn one way or another. If you look around here on the other side of the camera, you can see here that you have, of course, the camera itself, and then there's a little hole right next to it. That's actually your microphone. All right, so say you're recording a lesson, You could turn the camera up like this to be able to see yourself in front of the camera, or you could turn it down to then start looking at the document. So you can easily move this camera anywhere that you need it to be.
I've got my document up there in front of me. Now, one thing I want to suggest to you, down here at the bottom, you can see it showing up here on my taskbar. I would highly recommend right-clicking, so do a right-click on that application, and it's going to open up this little menu that'll say, what do you want to do with this? I'm going to pin it to my taskbar. So now I'm going to pin it there. So now it's always going to show up there at the bottom. It's going to be one of these tools that will show up there at the bottom on my taskbar all the time. So that way when I'm in another, if I'm in Google Meet and I want to go back to it, that'll always be at the bottom, and I can just simply hit that and it'll open up my, my camera. All right, so once you have the camera all hooked up to the USB, you have a document under it here like I've got here, you're ready basically to go with it and start playing around with it some. So I'm just going to go through a few of the things real quickly here that you can do. So first off, I'm going to go through what's on the left-hand side of the screen. So you got some of your basic tools over here on the left-hand side. So one thing I can do is I can change the camera input. So if you look right here, it says select a camera. So here it's got, you can do some basic things like contrast, all that stuff. On here, you can actually do keystone. So in case you were like projecting it on something, you could actually, fix that if you were projecting it up on a screen. But you can go down here and, I'm going to switch the camera, and now it's going to come over to the camera that's in the computer itself that's pointed back at me. So now I'm going to go back to my document camera, which is the V4K number 1. All right, so it's got it right there. Now, another cool thing I can do here, of course, I can zoom in. So I click on the zoom. So I'm going to zoom in here, and I want them to focus on the definition of militia right there. So I can zoom out a little bit, just kind of drag it around. I can even touch my screen if you got the touch screen laptops and move that around to there. Okay, so now I can zoom into those little sections like that. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom out now. All right, and then you can move the image around. So if you need to flip things around, you just grab that and flip the whole image around. So if you need to flip it like that, there you got a flipped around image now. So then I hit reset, and it's going to go back to the normal orientation. This is where you can change the resolution on it. So, you could go to ultra high definition if you like right here. A really high definition picture, but honestly, I'm going to suggest just go 1080p. Students are still going to be able to learn at 1080p. It doesn't really matter if you're super high def, but if you're somebody that wants a super high definition picture, go ahead and mess around with that and go ahead and, move to those different definitions. If you notice, when I first opened up the camera, the picture was pretty dark, but you can change the exposure. So I can change this exposure, and I can do this on the camera itself, or I can do it right here. And if you notice, of course, I'm getting brighter and brighter and brighter. So I can change that exposure on the image. The white balance, I can change that as well if I want, to make things a little bit, maybe I feel like it's too much white. So I'm going to change it a little bit here on the white balance. 2, if I want to refocus things, I just have to hit this little button and it'll refocus. I've also got the button on the camera itself that'll refocus. If I want to change like some colors on here, I want to invert to black and white, or to invert to black and white. I can do that. I can change it just a black and white picture. I can change to all different types of colors here with this, thing with grayscale and all that. So I'm going to go back to normal right here. So it's got some cool stuff you can do right there with those tools. Over on the bottom right-hand corner, you've got some other tools you can use as well. Of course, you got the standard old handy freeze the screen, which I love. That's something I used all the time. Okay, so I can hit that and I can freeze the screen if I want. Now, this next one is a really cool one that you might be able to use in Google Meet. It'll take a little bit of, I guess, finagling around a little bit with the cameras to get it to work, but I can do a picture-in-picture. So right now, you can see I've got a picture-in-picture, but what I can do then is I can click on this and switch over to my other camera, and now you can see me on the screen as well as I'm talking to the students. So I can have picture-in-picture as I'm talking to the students on there. It's got a little line reader here I can do, so I can kind of move this up and down. If, say I'm reading a story with students, I can move the line reader up and down on the screen. If I click on the line reader, there you can see it's even got it where it just highlights just simply one section of the page. So if I want to go line by line here, move this a little bit so it's a little more even. So I can do line by line, and then I can zoom in a little bit. So let's say I want to zoom in a little bit here and go line by line. Then I can just go each line. So that's kind of a cool thing. So you just keep on clicking on that line reader. It'll get into those different functions of the line reader there as you're doing it. Now, a few other things here. If you look in the middle, you can see, of course, I've got the little picture or little camera icon right now. This means that it's a static image, that basically the camera is set for a static image. So you can do your standard stuff, like writing on there on the page, just like you'd normally do with a standard document camera. But the cool thing with this, now that you've got this application, is I can click on this little pen down here. If I click on the pen, now I can start writing on here. So I can say, okay, I'm going to circle this. I want you to focus on this part of the article. And then I can actually hit this other button and I can change the color. And so now I'm going to say, okay, I want you guys to focus on this part of the story or whatever. Now, the cool thing is, of course, I've got an eraser on here as well. But now the cool thing is say I want to, okay, save this picture. I just talked about this and I want to save this and post it on Google Classroom so students can come back and reference it later. All I got to do is push the camera button like I'm taking a picture. It's like you're taking a picture like on your smartphone or whatever. So I'm going to click that I'm taking the picture. Now it's going to ask me where I want to save it. And the unfortunate thing with this that I'm finding it's a little bit frustrating is it won't allow you to actually name the file. You actually just have to save it somewhere and then you move it where you want and rename it. So I'm just going to put it on my desktop. So I'm going to hit select folder as being my desktop. So it just saved it there. And so now if I minimize this screen, minimize this one, there you can see I've got an image now here that is the image that I just took with my page and then what I circled digitally on the screen. So I didn't write anything on the page. I just circled all the stuff digitally on the screen. All right, so now I can go back and I'm going to erase this. So I'll just go to my eraser. And again, by touching the screen, I'll just go and erase what I just put in there digitally. And erase over here as well. So again, there's all kinds of fun stuff you can do with this camera. I love this camera. But okay, now I'm done doing that stuff. So I'm going to hit the pen on the left-hand side. I'm done doing that. Now you can see a little arrow has now popped up underneath the or above the camera. So I'm going to hit that again. Whoops. Hit that little arrow. Now you can see there's all kinds of functions that come up here. I'm not going to be able to go through all these, but you can actually, change into, now I'm doing it in a continuous image or whatever. So basically I'm filming now. I'm filming a video of some sort. So what I could do now is I could, say, okay, I'm doing my stuff. Now I'm going to flip it up to my classroom. And maybe, I've practiced ahead of time and I know this is where I want to stand. So I'm going to come over here and now I'm going to teach my lesson in front of the board for a little bit. Do my lesson, do whatever I need to do here. Okay, guys, let's go back to our document now we were talking about. And then I can move the camera right back down to the document. Hit the autofocus. Well, actually, pretty much autofocuses on its own, and I'm set. I got it there. Okay, so now I'm back. You can record little chunks of video here. Of course, if I hit the record button, it's going to start recording, or it's going to ask where I would want to save this to. So I'm going to say I want to save this to the desktop. All right, and I want to say yes. I'm going to allow it to access my microphone, and now it's recording. You can see it's got the recording thing on there as I'm talking. Okay, so now I hit stop, and now I would have a video on my desktop right here. So here's the video that I just recorded. So I could do that, and I could, basically then upload that if I wanted to YouTube. Just simply hit create when you go to YouTube and upload your video. So you could do that. It's got a slow motion feature. This is a really cool feature right here. This is going to be the last one I'll go through here because, again, you can just sit and play around with these, and I'll be sending out basically the official directions to it in an email as well. But this is where you can scan a document. All right, so what I'm going to do here is say I just want the students to read this first part about Washington's first command. So I can hit this little button right down here, and I'm going to highlight only the part of the page that I want to make a PDF of. So I just want this first paragraph about the building of Fort Duquesne. All right, so make it a little bit bigger right here. Okay, so I've got what I want highlighted. Or no, I'm sorry, I'll hit PDF. PDF is highlighted. Now I'll hit the button in the middle. I want to scan the document. Now, it's created the first page of a PDF. Now let's say the second page of the PDF, I want to be this other part. All right, so I'm going to move my highlighting over to this section of the page. And I want that to be my next part. So I'm going to go ahead and hit my next page. All right, now when I click off PDF, it should open up and say, okay, where do you want to save it to? So I'm going to save it to my desktop, and I'm going to hit select that I want it to my desktop. And now you can come back, and if you look right here, here's a PDF that was just created. I go into that PDF, and there you go. There's my first section that I wanted the students to look at. There's my next section that I wanted the students to look at. So the cool thing is you can put a document underneath here, and you can kind of chop it up and make it into a PDF that's custom to whatever you want your lesson to be about. All right, and then of course what I could do then is upload that PDF to my Google Drive, and then I can simply share it through Google Classroom. All right, so again, this camera has so many cool capabilities, so many things that I haven't even messed around with or had a chance to play around with, but there's so many fun things that you can do with this that I'm really excited that people are going to be able to play around with this a little bit. One other thing I was going to show you, let's see if I can make this work. Oh, okay. Here's what I wanted to show you real quick. Sorry. If you look down here, when you click on the little arrow that goes up and down, one more thing I want to show you is you got this side-by-side camera, split screen. So I'm going to click on split screen. And now you can see, it's getting two images of just simply my camera, or of my document camera. But what I can do then is I can go into these little lines here, and I can pick which camera I want being used. So I click on which camera I want being used. I want my standard camera for my computer, and there you go. Okay, now I can talk about what I want to talk about. There you can see me on one side of the screen, and you can see what I'm writing about right here. So you can kind of, be able to teach this way. And the cool thing is, too, you're going to be able to use this in Google Meet. And so all you got to do is present your screen and go to your visualizer, and you're going to be able to have this full functionality where you can be having a document up there and you can be seen by the students at the same time. All right, so it's amazing some of the stuff we're going to be able to do with this camera. So I'm really excited about it. So again, I'm going to put out more videos about it. I know this was kind of a lengthy video, but I'll put out more videos about this camera and some other things you can do with it. So anyway, with that, that's kind of the basics. Hopefully that got you through it. I guess when you're all done with the camera, you can just simply, close up the application and unplug the camera, and you're good to go. So anyway, with that, hopefully that helps out, and I'll talk to you later. Thanks.